So it's pretty rare that I actually prepare before I speak. I usually just wing it, like the first book, figure it out when you get there. Figure it out when I get there. So, but you know, I've had all year to think about Shalom. One Shalom said, why do so many Jews win Nobel Prizes? It's because they daven Shmoneh Esrei, and their minds go all over the place. And if anyone's ever seen me davening in Bateran, sometimes I'll take like 45 minutes to finish Shmoneh Esrei because my mind's all over the place. And I gave the speech like at least 100 times in my mind during Shmoneh Esrei. And so many people know my relationship with Reb Sholom. When I was looking for a rabbi, and I went to him, I contacted Reb Zalman. I was looking for somebody as close as possible to Reb Shlomo Carlebach. And Reb Zalman, when I wrote to him, he said, what are you bothering me for? You live in Nechlaot. Sholom Brodt is there. Go to Shalom and don't bother me again. So I knocked on Shalom's door and I said, Rabbi Brodt, I want you to be my rabbi. And I'd known Shalom already a couple of years from Mayanot, but we didn't really have much of a relationship. And he said to me, don't call me rabbi, my name is Shalom. And I said, okay, Shalom, how do we start the rabbi-student relationship? And he said, we don't, because I'm not going to be your rabbi. So he said, I'm going to make you a deal. I'll be your friend, and you'll be my friend, and we'll help each other out. And that was our relationship for about 18 years. Really, Shalom was, besides my wife, my closest friend. And he was my rabbi and my mentor. And what happened after he passed away is my wife, Noga, said, I said to Noga, it was like literally Sunday morning. We buried Shalom Motzi Shabbos Sunday morning. I said to Noga, you know, I'm thinking of this funny conversation that Shalom and I had where we were learning, and he stops in the middle with like his finger on the spot, and he looks over and he says, so Barak, why are you so fat? And it wasn't the first time he said this to me, like over the years, he said, Barak, why are you gaining so much weight? Why are you so fat? And I guess in your family, people could be fat and they live forever, because my grandfather was almost 100 and much bigger than me. But you know, I kind of got tired of it, so I said to Shalom, well, Shalom, why do you look like you're 90 years old? And he just continues with the learning as if he never stopped. And Noga said, you know, you should put that on Facebook. I'm like, Facebook? Are you kidding me? Who's going to read that? She said, just do me a favor, put it on Facebook. So I put it on Facebook, and you know, you get all these thumbs up because there's no thumbs down, so you get thumbs up on Facebook. And some people said, can you post another one? So I said, yeah, sure, I can post another one. And then I posted a few, and then it was Chaya Lester who said, can you post 30 for 30 days? Like 30, how am I going to cover 30 stories? And I came up with 30, and then people said 1,000. 1,000. I'm like, are you out of your mind? 1,000. So I got to, I think it was 131 when I stopped on Facebook. The book has 146. Because I did come up with more stories between when I finished 6 months ago, finished writing. Also, this wasn't originally intended as a book, but people said if you put it into a book, we'll buy it. So I started compiling stuff, and of course everybody who walked in probably saw the book. I'll read a few stories from the book in just a minute. And so here's what I prepared to read Reb Sholom. So we were once talking, Sholom and I, about putting tefillin on people on airplanes. I asked him, do you ever get up from your chair and put tefillin on people on the plane? Because you're a shaliach of the Rebbe, right? You're a Chabadnik, and I'm a Chabadnik. We're just secret, we're like in the secret unit of Chabad, undercover. Right, I told this to him once. You know, like in every military, there's like an undercover unit, and that's you and me. And we can sneak into places that they wouldn't let a Chabadnik in. What do you think about that? He's like, let's keep learning. So I said to him, so, okay, come on. And he was very, very connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. As close as he was to Reb Shlomo, I would say probably almost as close to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe was very important to him, Chabad was very important to him. And so I said, okay, no, you're a shaliach, so you're doing what you're supposed to do on the plane? He said, no, once the plane takes off, I fall asleep, that's it. Sleep the whole flight. So we had this conversation, and I said, well, what would you do if you went to somebody, like, how would you answer somebody if you went to this guy and say, hey man, you want to put on tefillin? And the guy's like, leave me alone, I'm busy, watching my movie. How would you answer the guy? And he said, I don't know. How would you answer him? And so I told him, I would say it's a mitzvah. And the guy would say to me, well, what do I need a mitzvah for? I'm a good person. I'm probably a better person than you. I take care of pets. I feed homeless people. I do all kinds of good things in the world. So what do I need to put tefillin on for? And so Sholom said to me, so how would you answer this guy? And I would say, well, putting tefillin doesn't make you a good person. It makes you a holy person. And there's a difference between being good and holy. Being good, Hashem wants everyone to be good. Everyone can be good. But a Jew, Hashem wants a Jew to be holy. And how can you be holy? By only doing mitzvot. And the mitzvot were given to us as Jews, and that's what makes us special. So, Reb Sholom was a holy person. And why was he holy? Why was he a holy person? Because he did stuff. And not just stuff, he did mitzvot. That was his life. And one morning, this was already when Reb Sholom was still around, physically in this world. I realized when I was davening in the morning that we say this every morning. These are the things that a person does in this world, and the reward for it is waiting for him in the world to come. And these are kibud avim, honoring your mother and father, ugemilut chasadim, doing acts of kindness, hashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit va'aravit, getting up for shul in the morning and going in the evening, achnasat orchim bikor cholim, bringing in guests and visiting the sick, achnasat kala, escorting the chasam and kala, halvayat hamet, escorting the dead, v'yun tefillah, going deep into your davening, v'avat shalom sheben adam lechavero, and bringing peace between a person and his friend, uven liishto, between a husband and his wife, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam, and the learning of Torah is equal to them all. But this was Shalom's roadmap. This is what he did. Every single thing on this list, I would say to him, why are you going again to Montreal? I'd say, I got to see my mother. Shalom's mother, he told me he doesn't even know that he's there. But he said, my brother has a hard time taking care of my mother, and I need to be there, and it's a mitzvah kibud aim, and I have to be there. And he would come back from these trips so exhausted. He was a total wreck. And he couldn't sit down in a chair because his back hurt him so much. And I saw somebody posted a picture on Facebook of Sholom, who wasn't a very muscular guy, with some big chassid on his shoulders dancing at a wedding. And I said, oh, that picture must have been from like years ago, right? The guy said, no, it's from like a week ago. And no wonder Sholom's back hurt him all the time, because he was carrying chassid on his back at every wedding, even though he was in so much pain. And this is just how he lived his life, with this total determination. It's like life was a blizzard, and he was going, and he was never going to stop until Hashem said, okay, you're ready to go now. And that's what happened. Sholom simply followed this roadmap that we all say every morning. That was the way he lived his life, all the way to the end. A lot of people have told me that they've had dreams with Reb Sholom, and I've had a few dreams with him. So the first dream, we were on a bus, and we were like on the hills in the border between Jerusalem and Olam Haba. And we're sitting in the bus, and all of a sudden my dream, Sholom's next to me. And this was not so long after he passed away, maybe a few days after he passed away. So, oh my God, Sholom, you're here. This is like my dream. We're going to now learn every night together. And it's like you'll never have, left, and it's going to be great. And he didn't say anything. So I said, why aren't you talking? And he's just making this face at me. I said, oh, I got it. Because you can't reveal anything from the other world, right? Like, yes, yes. So I said, so can I ask you yes and no questions, and you can shake your head? He's like this. And so the whole night, we were traveling on this bus like this, and I kept asking him questions, and he was smiling and shaking his head and making hand gestures. And then I woke up in the morning, I was in the dream. I had another dream with him, and I already knew that he wasn't going to talk in the dream. And then I had a dream on Purim, where he came out from behind this wall, and he's signaling at me, so I followed him. And there was the Purim Suda in Gan Eden, and he was sitting at Reb Shlomo's table with Rabbi Pupko next to him, and he just sat down at the table, and then I woke up from the dream. So I know he's there. I know he's watching over us, and I can tell you the miracles that happened with this book. It couldn't have happened without Reb Sholom intervening upstairs somehow. So anybody who's published a book, most people don't write and publish books, but it's a lot of work to get a book out. My first book took me 4 years to finish. And this book I had 1 year. So I finished writing after 6 months. I didn't know when I would finish writing. And then I took a break for 2 months, which was a big mistake, because then I had only a few months to get it edited and printed, and finding a printer, and the printing price went up because the book was too thick, and we had problems with the typesetting, and the problems just went on and on. But Baruch Hashem, I'm telling you, this is a miracle. Baruch Hashem. So I'll just talk a little bit about the book. I want to read a few stories from the book. Baruch Hashem. The book, first of all, Shtikl Shalom, the title came from Netzach at the funeral, where at the end, he ended it by saying, I think we should all be a Shtikl Shalom, a little bit of Shalom. And right away my wife said, if you turn this into a book, that's the title. So I'm not going to tell you the story, but there's a story of Eliyahu Navi that the bottom line was, listen to your wife. So if anybody knows me, you know that I love telling stories and reading stories, and for me, the Torah comes through stories, and so I take that story as my foundational Torah, listen to your wife. So she said that's the title, I know, and that was the title. And so the book, everybody who's read the post, you can see the stories. Some of the stories are very short. Some are 4 pages. Most of them are like this, short stories. We had a problem with the layout because you can't just crowd all these stories together. So I ended up making this design with the numbers. And the numbers offset the stories, and they're kind of playing throughout the book. You'll see, for those of you that get the book, the numbers go all over the place, and kind of keeps the book happy and lively. And I realized I have to have chapter breaks, so I decided to make them every 18 stories. So there'd be chai throughout the book. And then on the side here, there's a little Magen David. This is actually some graffiti up here on the street that I saw one day. And it's a Magen David with chai in the middle, and I figured, okay, I need that on the book, so I took a picture and sent it to a graphic designer. We got it in the book. So it's a book that I try to instill life in the book. I wanted the book to be a satisfying read. When you get to the end, you feel like you had an experience. Like the book went through you, right? Everybody knows the Kotzker. This guy comes to the Kotzker and says, I learned the whole Gemara. I finished Shas, and I went through it all. And the Kotzker says, and how much of Shas went through you? So I wrote this book, hopefully that it will go through you in an easy way. And I'll just read a few stories, and then I'm finished. Thank you. Okay. So this is actually my favorite story in the entire book. If anybody wants to know what's your favorite story, this is it. A close friend of mine from Jerusalem was getting married in New York at the same time I traveled there for business. Shalom was on a trip and would conduct the wedding. I got to the hotel the day of the wedding and saw Shalom standing outside smoking a cigarette. I shouted, Shalom Aleichem, holy brother, from the open car window, and parked. I was so happy to see Shalom in the spiritual emptiness of America. I told him how strange it was to see him in New York. I'd never seen him outside of Israel before or since. Me, isn't it so strange that we're here together in New York? Shalom shrugged his shoulders without saying a word and took a drag on his cigarette. Me, are you okay, Shalom? Shalom. Oh, Hashem, Take your bags inside. Do you need me to help you? I left Sholom smoking in the parking lot. Then I realized, although I felt things were different meeting him in America, for him nothing had changed. Sholom was still in Jerusalem. He had taken Eretz Yisrael with him. I shared all of my problems with Sholom, big and small. I once told him that I felt like I was wasting my life since I spent so much time at work. I felt like I should have been learning Torah all day like some of my friends. First, Sholom told me that my obligation was just to learn 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, and that would be considered as if I learned the entire day. Anything beyond that was precious in God's eyes. Also, many of those people who learn all day are not fulfilling their obligation. If you're going to learn all day, he said, you need to really be learning all day and not taking long breaks. You also need to be focused on your learning all day. Most people can't do it. They should get a job. Then he told me there were some rebbes who insisted that their chassidim open a business rather than have a salaried job, so that they would learn what real faith in Hashem meant. If you get your parnasa, livelihood, from a business, you know it's from Hashem and from no one else. It's not like that with a salaried position. You see, he said, what you're doing is greater than someone who's getting paid to learn all day. You're really developing your faith, and you're supporting your family, and having guests on Shabbos, and giving tzedakah. That's what you should be doing. Don't be jealous of people who learn all day. They should be jealous of you. So you can see how Sholom, he knew how to say the right things to me, and not just encourage me, but really give me the whole Torah along with it. This is a story that Sholom would tell before every Yom Kippur about when Reb Leibele Eger, the grandson of Rabbi Akiva Eger, from a family of Misnagdim, those that opposed the Hasidim, became a chassid of the Kotzker Rebbe. It was Yom Kippur after the davening at night. Reb Leibele was learning, and some of the Kotzker Hasidim were already laying on the benches in the shul sleeping. One chassid decided it was time to initiate Reb Leibele. He came over to his friend who was sleeping, holding a Kiddush cup and a bottle of wine. He kicked the bench and woke up his friend. Hey, Yankele, wake up. You've got to make Kiddush. Yankele wakes up. What? Oh, sure, Kiddush? Okay, let's do it fast. The other chassid pours the wine and starts to say, Savri Maranan. Reb Leibele shouts, stop! What? Says the chassid. You can't make Kiddush tonight. It's Yom Kippur. So what? Asked the chassid. Savri Maranan. Stop! Shouts Reb Leibele. What now? You can't make Kiddush tonight. It's Yom Kippur. Prove it, says the chassid. It's written in the Shulchan Aruch. He waves him off. That's nothing. And he continues. Savri Maranan, stop! What now? You can't make Kiddush tonight. Says who? It says so in the Torah. The Torah? Leave us alone. Holding the Kiddush cup. Savri Maranan, wait, stop! What now? You can't make Kiddush. Says who? God. God says. The chassid puts down the cup. Oh, God says? Sholom would say, you see, by Kotzk, it wasn't enough that it says so in the Shulchan Aruch or the Torah. You had to know that Hashem said it. Okay, the last story. One Sholom and I were walking to the mikveh on Shabbos morning. We passed by an old shul in the neighborhood. Do you mind if we see if it's open? Sholom asked. We walked over to the shul. No one was there, but the door was open. We went inside. Right away I could feel the kedusha, the holiness of the shul. I asked Sholom if he also felt it. Even though he knew there was such a thing as being sensitive to holiness, he said he didn't feel anything. I told him about the first time I opened the Aron Kodesh in Baterant. It was like a gust of wind coming out of the Aron. I felt like a fan of Kedusha was blowing on me. Sholom told me about some people who could feel holiness in physical objects. He said you could put two books in a person's hand, and they could tell you which one was Kodesh, holy, or not. When we got back to his house to learn on Shabbos morning, Sholom wanted to try it. He told me to give him a dictionary and a holy book with his eyes closed. Then he did it for me. Neither of us got it right. So last night, this is the last thing I'm going to say tonight. Last night I was drawn to this book of Rav Avram Yoshua Heschel called, he didn't really write it, it was written after he passed away, I Asked for Wonder, where he said, I didn't ask for success in this world, I asked for wonder. And there's this line in the book, there are 3 ascending levels of how one mourns. With tears, that's the lowest level. With silence, that's higher. And with a song, that's the highest. So maybe we can sing a nigun to mourn Hashem, to mourn Shalom in the highest way. The nigun, Bezat Hashem.